Hey guys, welcome back to Enthralling SudokuManiacs. Today we are going to have a look at an Arrow Sudoku. Now it so happens that this puzzle has been made by Swaroop Guggilam, who is one of the best authors that India has produced. He also has a blog, which I have mentioned in the description below, where you can definitely go and try out some of his mind-boggling puzzles. But the interesting thing about this is that I have also received another submission for an Arrow Sudoku, and that one is by Ashish. Now, I will not be presenting two Arrow Sudokus back to back, so maybe we'll be seeing that somewhere 3 to 4 days down the line. But knowing Ashish, I just can't wait to get my hands on that puzzle. Having said that, let me tell you, this puzzle is no less. I have tried to test all this, and this is one beautiful Arrow Sudoku. I just love the way how the digits and the numbers play a role in finding the solution. So, if you do look forward to the other Arrow as well, I suggest you subscribe to the channel right away if you have not already done so. And don't forget to click on the bell icon so that you are notified as and when we update new content. So coming back to the puzzle, first let's wrap up the rules. The rules state that no digit can repeat in any row, column or a given 3 by 3 box. Additionally, we'll see certain arrows marked in the grid. What that means is the digit that comes in the circle of that arrow. So for example, if I were to take this cell, if hypothetically this was a 9, then this 9 has to be the sum of all the digits along the arrow. Now here I see that from this circle there are two arrows. So the sum along both the arrow, on the both directions of the arrow, have to be the same as the digit in the circle. And wherever there is a single cell arrow, obviously what that means is if this was a 2, this would also be a 2, right? So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now the trick with arrow sudokus is always to look at the longer arrow lengths, because more numbers will be occupying spaces along the arrow, which will limit the possible sum that would be allowed in the circle. Now we should always remember that the maximum number that can come in a circle is 9. Hence the maximum sum of digits along an arrow can always be 9. And the longer the arrow, narrower are the possibilities. So for example, if I were to look at this arrow, it passes through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells. Now 5 cells, 5 digits adding up to 9, which is the maximum number, right? Not necessarily 9, but it has to be maximum 9. So now when I look at these 3 cells of the arrow, they are all confined within one box, which basically means they all have to be unique. Though the digits can repeat on an arrow, but since the arrow is part of a single entity, which is box 8, they will have to be different, which basically means, let me look at the 3 minimum possibilities that can occur along the arrow. So this can be 1, 2 or 3. This would be 1, 2 because of this 3. And this would be 1, 2, 3. What this means is the minimum sum of these 3 digits will always be 6. Right? Because 1, 2, 3, hypothetically again, it would be 6. So we have accounted for 6. And then we also have 2 digits along the arrow which are in box 4. And again, let's look at the minimum digits. So that will be 1, 2, 1, 2, which add up to 3. So by just using the minimum possibilities along the arrow, we see that we have 3 plus 6, 9 covered. And we know that 9 is the maximum digit that can go along inside a circle. Now, if any of these numbers would change, it would simply increase the sum. Hence, we know that there can be no other possibility than this, so we can safely put in a 9 here. So, by classic rules, 9, 9, 9 can't be here or here, this becomes a 9. Similarly, when I look at this 5 cell arrow, again this would be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, which is adding up to 6 with 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Again, we get a 9, right? So, with 9, 9, 9 has to be in these two. Now, let's look at box 2. 9 cannot be in this 2. 9 cannot be along the arrows because this we know has to be 1, 2 and 3. This is ruled out by classic rules. So, the only place 9 can be is here. Now, with the 9 of column 5 being logged in rows 1 and 3, in box 5 the 9 has to be here, right? Good so far? Now, let's look at the next arrow. Again, we have 3 digits passing through a single box. So, the minimum sum has to be 6, correct? And same way in the other direction also I have 3 cells which again have to be 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4 depending on how the formation comes up. But the minimum sum has to be 6. Now we know if you've already got 6 here, I can either have a 1 or a 2, 1 or a 2 to get a 7 and an 8. Because I can't have a 6 here because it would not conform to the constraint of the arrow. Right? 6 plus 0 would not be possible. And with 9 already present, this can either be a 7 or a 8. What that basically means is, if there is a sum of 6 in a specific direction, the other digit would be an 8, 2, sorry, to add up to 8. And in the other direction, it would be a 1 with 1, 2, 4 adding up to 7. Now the reason I say 8 and not 7 is, when we look closely, we see that 7 can never be in R5C5. Assuming this was a 7, now we know that the minimum sums of 3 cells within one constraint of a row, column or box will always be 6. So I would get the minimum sums of 6 in both the directions, which would make me need a 1 in both the cells to satisfy this 7. And we all know that a digit cannot repeat in a box. Hence, this would never be a 7 and this would be an 8. Right? So basically what we mean is, in one direction it would be 1, 2, 3 with a 2 adding up to 8. And in the opposite direction we'll have a 1 with a 1, 2, 4. Now which one will come where? That we need to identify while we are solving. Good. So now let's look at some of the other arrows. Now here, let's see what are the possible digits. I cannot have a 1 or a 2 because that would make this cell also 1 and a 2. But I know in box 4 the 1 and 2 has been logged in rows 4 and 5. So this can be 3 and this would also be a 3. 4 would not be possible because we already have a 4 in row 6. 5 is not possible. 6 and 7 again are not possible. 8 is possible, so we'll just add a pencil. Okay? Which basically means these two will add up to either 3 or 8, whichever digit comes here. Let's have a look at this. I cannot again have a 1 or 2 because the same logic of 1 and 2 being occupied here. I cannot have a 3 because I have a 3 here. I can have a 4. 5 again is not possible. 6 and 7 again is not possible. I can have an 8. I can have an 8. So this becomes a 4 and 9 is obviously ruled out. So at least we have 8. Now, as we discussed about these two long arrows, we know for sure the 1 and 2 are always locked up in the arrow, right? So which basically means 1 and 2 cannot be part of this circle. Can I have a 3? I cannot have a 3 because if this were a 3, this would become a 3. But the 3 is locked in these 3 cells, right? So I can have a 4, 5, 6, 7 not possible, 8 is possible. So this becomes a 4, 8. And similarly here also this would be a 4 and an 8. So now we are slowly getting the pencil marks, yet we are still a bit away from making some progress here. Alright, so let's look. So we know this is a 3 8 and a 3 8. With this 5 here, this has to be a 6 and a 7 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 and 9 are available. So this becomes a 6, 7. This would be a 5, 6, 7. So this would be a 5, 6, 7. Right? Let's look at this 5. In box 4, the 5 cannot be here or here. 5 has to be logged in these two, which eliminates sorry, which eliminates the 5 from here. So this has to be a 6, 7 and this has to be a 6, 7. So again I get a pair of 6, 7 in box 5 and I also have a pair of 1 and 2. So this has to be my last digit 5. And when I look at the row, this has to be a 3, 4 and a 3, 4. Correct? Now, there are only two more arrows that we need to pencil mark out. Now again 1, 2, 3 would not be possible. 4 is possible here. 5 is not. 6 cannot because this would make 6. 7 is possible. 8 possible. 9 obviously is not. So what this means is the 6 of box 8. It cannot be here, it cannot be here, it's right here, which would make this as a 6. Alright? And similarly, let's have a look at this one. I can't have a 9, I can have an 8. I can't have a 7 because this would become a 7 and we already have a 7 in row 3. 6 is possible. 5 is not. 4 is possible. And 1, 2, 3 obviously are not. Which again means that this 7 in box 2 cannot be in row 3 or row 2. So it has to be in these 4 cells. That's okay? Great. Now let's see what would happen or what are the possibilities based on the two options that are available in R7C1. If it was a 3, this obviously would have to be a 1, 2, 1, 2. Correct? But if it was an 8, the options are 1 and 7. But I have a 7 in column 2 and also in row 9. So 7 can never be on the arrow. So 1, 7 is ruled out. 6 is there again in column 2 and in row 9 again. So even 6 is ruled out from the arrow. So even 2 and 6 are not a possibility. And lastly, what we have is for two digits adding up to 8, we have 3 and 5. So with the 5 here, this could be a 3 and this could be a 5. Correct? Now we have these possibilities. Now comes the tricky part. Assuming if this was a 3, correct? So the options here would be 1, 2, 1, 2. Now with the 9 here, we also had 1 and 2 as options here. Now irrespective of which position is occupied by which digit, In column 1, it would push the digits 1 and 2 to this R1 and C3. But we know that both the digits 1 and 2 have to be on the arrow. I cannot have any of these two digits outside the arrow. Hence, and if this was a 3, it would make this 1 or 2 pop up in R3C1, which would simply not be possible. The reason, assuming this was a 2 and we had a 1 here. Now to get a sum of 8 max, which is the max, I would require a 3, 4 here, right? But 1, 3 and 4 together already add up to 8. And then I would require a 0 here, which would not be possible. So this was the other way of looking at it. So now conversely, I can say that this can never be 3 because it would negate the constraints of the arrow. So I know for sure this would be an 8 and an 8. And the only possibilities for 8 were 3 and 5 as we had seen, because 6 and 7 both cannot be on the arrow. So this 8 is eliminated. Right? This will R. Now, similarly, have a look at this arrow. If this was a 4, it would be 1, 3, 1, 3. Now that opens up a lot of possibilities. Okay, 7 is logged in column 7 and 9 of row 2, so 7 cannot be on the arrow for the sum of 8. 6 again cannot be in R1 C7 or R2 C8, so again the 2 and 6 combination for the 8 cannot be on the arrow. And the only other option is 3 with a 5. So we know for sure that R2 C8 has to be either 1 or 3. Now comes another part where we need to make a deduction. Let's look at box 4. Where can I have the digits 6 and 7 occurring? We know one R5C3 for sure is either 6 or 7. It cannot be here. It is possible here and here. Oh yes, while we are at the 5s, if this was a 5, 5, this also has to be a 5. Right? Now, we know that we have 3 places. Let's look more closely. In box 5, if 6 were here, it cannot be here because of the classic constraint. And if 6 was in R6C4, it would make R5C3 as 6. What this means is, irrespective of where these which digits come in these two cells, they cannot occur here. Unclear? Okay, let me explain again. If this was an X and this would be a Y, correct? X is in the same row as R4C3, and whatever digit is Y will occur in R5C3. So can I say this also would be a Y? Right. So the X here and the Y here both are buddy to R4C3. Hence R4C3 can never have the digits X or Y. So we know for sure this also cannot be a 6 or a 7. So we finally get a pair of 6 and 7 here. So this would be my last 3, 4, 3, 4 as a pair. Correct? Now, again similarly in box 6, 6 and 7 cannot be here. I have a possibility here, here and here. So again we have 3 places where the digits X and Y, no sorry, 6 and 7 can occur. But the same logic of that X and Y can be used in the opposite direction. If this is an X, it would be in the same row. If this is a Y, this Y would occur in R6, C7, and both the positions of X and Y are buddy with R6, C7. Hence, this can never be a 6, 7, which again gives me a pair of 6 and 7 in box 6. Having got that, let's jump to the classic rules that we follow. This is an 8, this is an 8, and then the only place for 8 in box 6 is here. So I know for sure this also is an 8. If this is an 8, I can't have a 1 or a 7. It has to be 3 and a 5. So with this 5 and 5, this has to be a 5. 1, 2, 6, 7, 3, 4. Okay, so this is a 3, this is a 4, and with the 3 here, this is a 4 and a 3. So classic rules 3, 3. This has to be a 3, which gets eliminated. So now that we have 1 and 2 here, this has to be a 3. And again, the 3 gets eliminated here. This is a 3, 3. Okay. So now that I have a 3 here, I know this will be 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4 with a 1, 2. This would become an 8. So if I have a sum of 7 along this arrow, this has to be a 1 to give me an 8. So this would be a 2 with a 1, 2, 1, 2. And with the 8 here, this is 4, 8, 8. 4, 4. This becomes a 4. So that's a 7 with a 7. 7, 6, 7. I guess you guys are following this, right? So this cannot be a 2 because of this. So 1 and a 2. Oh, I have a 1 and a 4 here. So this has to be a 2. This becomes a 4. This is a 1. It's a 2, 2. This becomes a 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1 and a 6. And I have a 5. This would be 46. 4 and a 6. This 1. This is a 2. This is a 1. 2, 1. This is 4, 8 is not possible, so 6, 6, and this would be a 9, which makes this a 9, and the last digit here would be a 4. So 4, 4, 4, 7, 7, and 2. This was really a very, very good construction, if you ask me. I just love the way how the arrows played a role in getting to the sum, identifying the possibilities, eliminating them, using the techniques of a classic Sudoku with pencil marking. And this was really a beautiful one. I just love this. And if you did too, then do what do you say, like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel because we have some more upcoming puzzles for you which are really mind-boggling. And yes, the link to Swaroop's blog is mentioned in the description. So if you want to check out some other creations by him, you can definitely go and do that. I do recommend it for that matter. So, hope you guys like this. And oh yes, we did receive a good response to our videos on the solving techniques that we had shared earlier. And we have received a lot of requests for us to cover other techniques as well. So right now I am in a dilemma. Should I do a Y-wing or an empty rectangle? Why don't you let me know through the comments? I'll wait for your updates. And based on what you guys tell me, I'll be preparing the next video on solving techniques. It's just going to depend on what you guys ask for. So don't hesitate, write down the comments. And till the next time, happy solving.